to be disrespectful in response to the person's request. There are two questions for the court today. First is whether to dispositionally depart. Two questions for the court today to durationally depart, or if you're unwilling to dispositionally depart. So the key question is the first one. And that is a question of whether or not the law
the key question is the first one.
Officer Potter is particularly
And that is a question of whether or not, in law and in fact, Officer Potter is particularly amenable to probation. And to answer that question, we rely on the probation.
Hi, everybody. Crafting Journey here. That Journey Chick on Instagram. We're tuning into the live sentencing of Kimberly Potter. The defense is now making their statement. We did hear from the family already. I'm sorry I'm late getting this to you. But if you're watching back on the replay, don't forget hashtag replay. We'll go ahead and we'll listen in.
In this case, the report is exceptional. It's well done. It's well written. It's fair. It says all the bad facts for the defense and all the good facts for us as well. It has a sense of balance to it. And the report does suggest to you that Officer Potter is amenable to probation. It's a recommendation that carries heavy weight because the probation officer is what you rely on to make decisions. They do the investigation. They actually talk to the defendants and the family and make a decision or recommendation as to probation and whether she's amenable. And she is, according to that report. So the first hurdle for any defendant asking for amenability findings is to get past the probation report. We've done that. And that report alone would provide you with authority and reasonable reliance to impose a probationary sentence. This was an unintentional crime. It was an accident. It was a mistake.
All right. Well, can I unlock it? It's frozen. I think it was unlocked.
In the state's brief as well, the guidelines suggesting 6 months, therefore you should follow them. But then if you dig deeper, we realize that the guidelines aren't always followed. And for 60% of the women
Thank you.
in Minnesota who face a presumptive commit, they are given probationary dispositions. So on the one hand, we can say, well, the guidelines are 86 months. On the other hand, we should also say they aren't always followed in 60% of the time for females. And for males, they aren't followed in 35%. And in our sister jurisdiction in Ramsey County, they're not followed 50%, according to the most recent evaluation booklet of the Sentencing Guidelines Commission. And the reason they're not followed is that they're too high for many defendants, especially for the first-time defendants. There's a recognition in the court system that individuals who face the court the first time did not go to prison in order to effectuate a just result. So the departure rate is really high. And the question for the court is not only whether she's amenable to probation, but whether she should fall into the 60% range. I gotta get my water.
He's very difficult to hear. Hi, Sandy. Good morning. We're listening in on the sentencing of Kimberly Potter.
Trog are clearly found here in a State versus Trog. It was a huge opinion when it came out in 1982. For those of us around in 1982, it was an astounding opinion because it provided the probationary option under the new guidelines. And all the factors that are listed in that case, she meets. There's no record. She's got a 26-year work history. She has expressed contrition and remorse, which I'll talk about a little bit later in terms of the quality of it. She bears no risk of recidivism. She can't be a police officer in the future. There's no danger to the public. she'll never own a gun again, obviously, and that she has enormous community support, which I'll talk about in a second as well. So the factors are all there. You've had the report that says probation is available, and then we have the TROG factors, which resonate here. And I often think of, I often think of Judge Amdahl and what he might do here. You know? And he gave a break to Mr. Trott, affirmed that sentence. I dare say it's hard to know what anyone would do, but I dare say he might find the factors here persuasive for Officer Potter and his memory. You know what I think the court misses in all these cases is an interaction with the family. We had a chance to be in this room next door, and there's a jury room attached to it, and so we spent a month with Kim's family, and every day there was a new set that came in to be with her. You know, her husband who's here, their sisters who are here, and his sister-in-law, but then there were nephews and friends of the family and former police officers. And it was different every day. And they sat in the jury room, and the girl and me and I sat in the courtroom, and we gave them their time. I wish you could have seen it. You know, I think they were all there to be with her, to pay their respects to her for everything that she had done for them. And I wish you could see the tremendous amount of love they had for her and non-judgmental empathy they had for her in that room. And we all found it remarkable. And we all found that we should leave them alone. And even during the jury deliberation, she was there with her two sons and her husband, and often in her husband's arms, crying. And the boys were with her, and it was moving, I'll say that. And I think they were all there, all the family members and the friends, because she has lived a virtuous life, and they are trying to pay her back. When I think of Kim, I think of someone who's lived out all the virtues that we could imagine. She's a Catholic. I've talked to her about the Catholic virtues. They're well known to Catholics, but perhaps not the core Catholic virtues are prudence, justice, temperance, courage, fortitude, faith, hope, charity.
I don't think I've ever heard a defense attorney speak this long about sentencing of his client. Clearly, he's very emotionally involved, and who could blame him?
If we want to be secular, because we are a secular court, we could refer to Aristotle.
I mean, really, what are the chances that something like this would ever happen again with this woman? I don't think prison serves any purpose whatsoever here.
Of course, and Aristotle's virtues are courage, temperance, liberality, patience, truthfulness, friendliness, fortitude. And she's done all of that too.
Come on
And
in.
to balance this for 1 5-second mistake against all of this, and if the virtues get too complex, I often think of a famous line from Saul Bellows, perhaps his greatest book, where he talks about this. He says, I have a feeling about the axial lines of life with respect to which you must be straight. And later in the paragraph, it says, when the striving stops, they are as a gift. So we can forget about the Catholic virtues or Aristotle's virtues and just say, have you lived a straight line? Have you tried to live a straight line? Axial or otherwise? And because she's lived a straight line, she has enormous community support. And had she not lived a straight line, she wouldn't be here with all these people that I'm going to talk about. Now, the state contends in their memorandum that the claim of remorse and amenability for probation is, quote, not particularly compelling. We take issue with that. The public would disagree. Since she's been in prison, she's just seen 3 boxes. Dear Kim, dear Kim, we care about you. And I want those to know who wrote these cards. This is just one of 3, by the way. Thousands of cards. And she intends to answer each one. So for those of you who are watching, she will answer you. Because she always has. But let me give you, and I didn't submit all these to the report. I thought I would read a couple just to give you a sample. And they're all very short and heartfelt. This one's from an officer up in the northern part of Minnesota. My dear Kim, she writes, my name is, I work there. I want you to know that even though we've never met, my heart is completely broken for you. And I'm devastated by your situation. I've also been in law enforcement for a long time and have 2 sons, and I'm just destroyed on your behalf. What happened to you could have happened to any of us. As a law enforcement community across the country, we're reeling from the shock of this case. This deputy's hope is that you, Kim, and your family will be protected from feelings of despair, and that you may be physically safe. She concludes by saying, I've never been so moved by a situation like this. I want you to know in your heart and remember every day that you are not alone. This one from Chaska. They're all small cards. People took the time to write her. This is unheard of for a defendant. I dare say no one in this room has ever seen anything like this. Dear Kim, I hope this message finds you well. Heart shape. I do not have the right words, but please know that I support you. I support Loom. You have an amazing community behind you. Please know that you're not alone. You make the world a better place. Be good to yourself and kind to your heart. With love from Chaska. These cards came from all over the country and all over the world, actually. We've got cards from Europe. One final one, then I'll move on. This one's handwritten from Brooklyn Park. Dear Miss Potter, my name is. My heart aches for your situation. I want you to know you're in my prayers constantly. My husband is a retired state trooper and knows the agony of split-second decisions. If okay with you, I'd like to write you regularly. Sincerely.
That's sad.
The third of these letters won't have continued communications with her. And then, despite the community support and the remorse that she's willing to articulate for you again, The state's claim is that she just hasn't done enough or shown enough. You know, we're all unique individuals, and what the state may find to be a level of remorse that they'd like to see may not be what someone feels in their heart themselves. Her feelings are her feelings. And I get the sense that we're somehow, the state is somehow asking to subjectively evaluate her level of remorse and make a standard of subjectivity that they want. The court has never been required to parse out that sort of level. You're just supposed to look at the drug factors. Does she express remorse or doesn't she? You can't engage in psychoanalysis here. That's not the holding of Trog. She was remorseful the moment the gun was fired. She went into trauma. The officers at the scene then called in the tragedy, and the police responded immediately. The state contends that she has no quote-unquote moral anguish, but the record is replete that she does. And she testified she does. But the videos of Kim crying on the ground are replete with moral anguish. I mean, we just can't have a Kafkaesque standard of what remorse is, and then have the state say, well, you haven't met our standard. And ask, well, what is the standard? And then you just haven't seen enough remorse, so we don't know what the standard is. And so we never can meet what their standard is. But that's not how law works. It's never worked that way. So the question again is whether she's amenable and should be included in the 60%. The state seems to agree that she is, at page 6 of their memo. They set out the various conditions that would satisfy them. So it's a hedging memo. It's the kind of memo that concedes that the defense has a claim for amenability. And the conditions that they want, we accept. I mean, they want a meeting with the family, and we accept that. We would do that. In the adversarial system, that's impossible. But now it is, and we would welcome that with court supervision somehow. They want Ms. Potter to give speeches and presentations about weapons confusion. We will do that. She's going to go across the state and talk about that. To the extent that she can discuss the confusion and design features of a taser and how inappropriate they may be, we'll be happy to do that. It was something that was not possible before trial, but it's possible now. The other factors for probation that go beyond Trog are vulnerability to the prison setting. She is in an isolated setting right now in Shakopee. They have her isolated because they don't want her in the regular population. As a police officer, she would be vulnerable to assault. The people in prison, in order to get prison, can be quite violent. It's 40% of the women. So they've isolated it, and the related ground for amenability to probation or for probationary disposition is that there has been a diminution of her mental health while in isolation. And I know the court's intent was never to place her in isolation in prison, but the fact of the matter is that in my discussions with the prison officials, they have decided that she should see no one. So all she does is spend her days getting checked every 30 minutes by a guard, making isolated phone calls, and staying in her cell. And as a result, she, like many people who are in isolation, suffer from a decline of mental and physical health. And we know from statistics and the analysis of social science that isolation in prison is harmful. So while the court never dreamed that perhaps that she would be in such an isolated setting, it is harming her. So we have on the one hand punishment, but on the other hand, if you send her to prison, you will harm her. We are not in the business of harming defendants. If there's any question about it, we submitted her therapist's letter to you in confidence, confirming that such isolation is harmful, given her fragile state and her diagnosis. We have the greatest sin of all in the church and in the secular world is a failure of generosity. And I submit to you that Kim never committed that sin, knowingly or intentionally. She, in her world, met the obligation to do good. And she did. And because she did good, we ought not be cheap about her life either, because it's been a generous life. To everybody she's met. You know, Hennepin County is a wonderful district because it's innovative. It's the busiest district in the state, but you know, the bench is famous for providing programs to first-time offenders to keep them out of jail. The their court was tremendously innovative. Remand is innovative with property courts. There's a veterans court. And all these ideas were new once they started. And they were tremendous because they kept people out of prison and they engaged in sort of forgiveness if they would do certain things. And in drug court, for example, many people were looking at presumptive arrests and never went. They got help, they got treatment. And they were a part of the 30% of men who don't go. And we're famous for this. This is a district with a big heart. And the other districts across the state have adopted what we've done here in Hennepin County. And we should be thinking along the same lines for her. Got a couple letters and then I'll reach the racial departure and then we'll get from Kim. But I've submitted all these to the court. I know you read them. This is just profound. This too is unheard of. And I must tell you, I edited out at least 25 to 50, but it isn't. There were redundant, but just not quite right to send. Some of them questions what happened here, which is okay to voice, but this is tremendous. And these are, the last part just came in to Brooklyn Center for her. And I had no difficulty requesting people to write letters. They just kept coming and coming. I have a stack in my office which came in too late. But I have, I've read them all, and there's one that, there are a couple that I'd like to quote to you because they tell us who she is and why you should give her a right here. First one's from an EMT. This was written to me and I sent it to you. I don't want to quote parts of it. I hope I can get through it correctly. Although I only knew Officer Potter professionally throughout my 25 paramedic career, I had never witnessed Officer Potter mistreat disrespect nor use any force on any individual. Officer Potter had an amazing way of connecting with everybody. She was nothing but professional, helpful, caring to the other first responders and individuals in crisis involved in a 911 call. Her aura was infectious. We quickly gained respect on any call just simply by walking into the scene. You see, Officer Potter never introduced herself in any other way than Kim to the families and individuals that requested 911 assistance. All the letters said the same thing. But this one was unique. The EMT recounts that in 2009, one of her colleagues was killed. She was at the scene with him as he died. I remember seeing the look on his face after he's lying there on the floor. It was a look I'd never seen before. I couldn't remember some events after this. It so happened that Officer Potter was at the honor guard at the funeral. With Officer Potter kept checking on me as well as my other colleagues, making sure we were all taken care of. She made a huge impact on all of us during this devastating time. The EMT goes on to state that she was suffering from PTSD, which may have occurred here too, like her colleague's death. She goes on to say, I thought I was hiding my symptoms pretty well until one day I went on a medical call in Brooklyn Center with Officer Potter. We ended up not transporting the individual in an ambulance, and we were walking out together. After the call, Officer Potter once again asked me how I was doing. I always responded, fine, thanks. While sitting inside of the back of the ambulance on the bench seat with the back doors of the ambulance open, Officer Potter jumped in the back of the ambulance and shut the doors. So just the two of us were there inside. Officer Potter put her right hand on my right shoulder and looked me straight in the eye. I will never forget what she then said. I've been noticing you have not been yourself for some time now. What can I do to help? Of course, I tried not to show her, but I was hurting. Officer Potter sat down on the stretcher right in front of me and grabbed my hand. She told me it was okay to feel pain. I immediately began to tear up, and Officer Potter stayed with me and calmed me. Please keep in mind, I only knew Officer Potter professionally during my whole career. She did not have to take this time, nor did she owe me anything. It was just her personality and character. I can honestly say she genuinely cares for everyone she meets. Officer Potter helped me out of a dark place where I had no idea of the true meaning of PTSD. Without this interaction with Officer Potter, I can say I don't know how long it would have taken me to get help. And realize how much the toll my PTSD, the line of duty, and death had taken on me. I had new respect for Officer Potter that day. I truly learned just how much of an impact her kindness meant. Every time I would run into her on a medical call after this day, we would check in on each other and offer a smile. With her help, I was able to retire from law enforcement, being proud of the people I served. She concludes by saying, she is an incredible officer as well as person. The world would be an amazing place if everyone would strive to be the half the person she is. Thank you for your time and consideration. So she is amenable. She's particularly amenable, given her life. In a sentence which would stay in a prison sentence, it would be just right here. And I only approach the durational departure issue as a secondary argument. I offer no disrespect to Mr. Reagan's family, but there is a departure ground, and I would like to articulate it.
Okay.
It's all over the letters. Under section 2D.203A1, the victim is an aggressor.
Probably 3 years ago. It was.
That is
It was in
considered
Florida,
mitigating fact.
so I don't know.
A single mitigating fact is sufficient under the law, or it's safe
No.
versus Solver. 982 Northwest Second,
Smart help.
618, 614, 618, Minnesota 216. There's nothing wrong with raising this.
Yeah,
fact.
that's possible.
This is an adversarial system.
Usually Tuesday or Wednesday is
I'm
best.
duty bound to advocate for this amount of time. Again, I have no issues with that. We're lawyers prefer. And if the victim was aggressive, it is mitigating ground. I would like to request the court to make findings for the community, particularly for the law enforcement community, that there was aggression on the end of the part of Mr. Rush. Driving without a license, a car without insurance, perhaps not. There's marijuana in the car, past distance of flight. He was arguably intoxicated with marijuana.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Driving a car while intoxicated is a violent act. I would like the court to acknowledge that warrants of the court do matter and should be honored. This was a warrant for his arrest. I'd like the court to acknowledge that running away from the police officers, three of them, is a violent act. It's an aggressive act. And that in this case, it is a potential harm.
No.
The state, on the other hand, says this, quotes, Dante Wright was not an aggressor against the defendant. Dante Wright made no aggressive or violent movements toward Lieutenant Potter or the other officers. Dante Wright simply pulled away from Officer Lucky in an attempt to drive off. We beg to differ. The testimony of Officer Lucky and Sergeant Johnson is that this was a dangerous situation. Sergeant Johnson was reaching in to prevent him from driving away and could have been hurt. He said so. This wasn't an aggressive act. I don't know how it could be. There's no requirement that Kim Potter be a victim of the aggression herself. The law says that she would defend other officers on the scene. So, she can do that. The whole idea of this victim of the aggressor mitigation is where, as here, there's a self-defense claim that's defeated. It's not perfect. The jury rejected it, but nonetheless,
Sounds good.
facts show
What's the address?
that Mr. Wright was the aggressor. And so when that happens, and what happens here, you have a durational departure.
Where is that in relation to the hospital?
The state would also say,
Oh,
Behind
behind Wesley. Okay, I'll be there. All right, thank you.
Was not combative with the officer. He made no threats to the officer. He did not act aggressively towards the officer. That's a page 11. That's inconsistent with that. We take issue. Her intended response here to the aggression was to use the taser. Clearly, that's what the facts show. And therefore, her conduct was rooted in an innocent mistake, believing that she was using the taser. And that makes the case significantly less serious than the typical manslaughter case, because it was rooted in a mistake, rooted in innocence, at the moment in response to a violent act. That makes it different. So you have duration of departure grounds. And the state seems to agree that departure grounds do exist because they're falling away from the Blakely claim. You no longer are asking for 10 to 20 years or whatever they were asking for. And the Blakely claim was critical at trial because they got all this evidence in Dante Wright's scene of death on the ground. So she recalled that, oh, it's Blakely, we gotta get in. But they abandoned that. And I would suggest to you that the case was overcharged. They should never have charged first-degree manslaughter for the first time at the family. They should never ask for 86 months for something like that. I have a couple more letters than that. I won't be doing that. This one is from the former chief of police of Brooklyn Center. This came in late, but I forwarded it to you. I hope you got a chance to read it. It's, he recounts that in July of 2014, I responded to several officers to report a toddler who had been struck by a vehicle. What happened here is shot in the run over by his father nearby. Everybody at the scene is having a difficult time with the call, he says. We forget how much trauma police experience on a daily basis. I took this call very hard, says the former chief, as I had just welcomed my second child to this world a few weeks earlier. Her name was the same name as the little girl. He died in the accident. My other child was a 14-month-old. I read this letter because the following happened. Quotes, Kim came to my office a few days after this tragedy. She closed the door, sat down, and placed her feet on my desk. Something I normally assume would be followed with a resignation letter. She asked me how I was doing. She was talking to me person to person, not as a coworker or manager. In just a few minutes, she had my trust to share the challenges I was having with the accident call. I felt like a 10-ton weight was lifted from my shoulders, and it was life-changing. I was seriously considering leaving law enforcement a year early. As a result of this call, she helped me move past my doubts. Kimberly has helped many other first responders and officers. And if others benefit just by a fraction of how I did, I know I've made a notable impact on their lives. In closing, I know there are hundreds of examples of Kimberly's selfless acts to help others. She didn't do it for money, as none of these examples involve pay. She didn't do it for promotion, as nothing here is a rank. She did it because she truly cares about helping others. And you didn't have to write that. I returned to family for her. Her son has written to you as well. And again, I wish you could have seen this in the room with the two boys. They're young men. Samuel Potter says, my mom is my rock. She is the reason why I'm where I am today. She is the reason I'm the man I am today. Without her, I don't know where I would be. She raised my brother and me to live by the golden rule, to treat people how we want to be treated. I feel I do this to the best of my ability. And we can't ask any more of a young man than that. Finally, the last excerpt I'd like to read, and then I will conclude, comes from her mother. I think for those who have lost our mothers, this will even resonate further. Because once you've lost your mother, there's an incredible vacuum in your life. You may recall that her mother came to the trial a couple times and sat in the corner and watched her daughter testify. She says, I am almost 82 years old. and I need quite a lot of help now. Kim is such a help to me. She's the one who cleans my apartment, changes my sheets, makes sure I have what I need. She helps me go places because I can no longer drive long distances or drive easily in the dark. She helps me with my banking and my bills so I don't pay anything late. These things have gotten a lot harder for me as I've gotten older. Kim keeps me on track. And actually a line there too. Kim is my daughter, but she's also my friend. She's the youngest of our 4 children by several years. The older ones went away to college. Kimberly was the one left at home. She and I spent a lot of time together. And we were very close. I confide in her. She's always able to understand me and help me when I have a question or when I'm worried about something. And then she goes on to say this. She's a good person. And it makes me sad that people are talking so terribly about her. They make all kinds of conclusions about her because she chose her career to be a police officer. They just assume things and they don't even take the time to try to get to know her before they make all kinds of judgments and awful statements about her. We taught her to treat others as she would want to be treated. I feel sad that other people in our city don't do the same. Why do we just keep letting people do this? Kimberly was a good officer, but the job is a stressful one. I don't know how she did it. I wouldn't have wanted to, but we need police officers to protect us. I'm glad someone wants to do it. If we send good police officers to jail when they make mistakes, we won't have anyone who wants to be one. Which is a refrain of many letters. She concludes, her mother does, I love my daughter. I'm proud of her. I think that you know in your heart that it was a horrible accident. Please be lenient and give her probation so she can come home and help. Maybe this is a very unique defendant here, given her age and career. And it's, I would urge the court to approach it this way. Maybe it's time we should help her too. We're helping all sorts of defendants who come through Hennepin County, and she should be helped. This is something that perhaps she's never going to get over. I don't think she's ever going to get over it, frankly, in the report that you've read. And it's time to reach out to someone like her and say, okay, what can we do for you? A lower sentence would, in our thinking, the way of thinking, reflect the rules of mercy and forgiveness, which are both essential. What remains of her life is that she's been a good daughter and a good sister. She's a loving mother, 2 wonderful boys, young men. She's been a wonderful companion to her husband, Jeff, who completely adores her, and rightly so. She loved her community, and she absolutely loved being a police officer. And these are the relationships that mark a life and form the units of a life. And may these units of her life be the ultimate calculation for mitigation here. Thank you.
We're going to take a 15-minute break, and then I'll allow Ms. Potter, if she wishes to address herself. 15 minutes.
Okay, we're on a 15-minute break. I will stop sharing the screen and we can just talk until they come back. How are you guys this morning? Oh my goodness, these 15-minute breaks. Wow. I wonder if she will address the court. I don't see any reason why she wouldn't, except she probably has appeals pending. But she already took the stand in her own defense, so I don't see the reason why not to address the court. Dawn says, thanks for covering this. Has been very interesting and one of the saddest cases I've ever seen. This was a total loss for everybody. There's nobody won in this situation. Nobody, a mother lost her son, and two sons are going to lose their mother. Very sad. Very sad. So it's Friday though. Woohoo! I haven't even edited my show for the morning. That's going to go up late. Yeah, no win for everyone. I agree, Jen. And it is nice to see you again, Jen. I'm glad you're feeling a little better. I read your mind. Yeah, God, she should have never been put in that position to begin with. That young man should have just cooperated and none of this would have happened, for God's sakes. Chaotic, hello. By the way, hey, Mickey, I didn't say hello to a lot of you, and I apologize. Chaotic says, howdy, been lurking while listening to this one. This one is sad all around. Can you guys talk amongst yourself real quick? I got to go pee out the coffee. Be right back. Sorry about that. But I've been drinking coffee all morning. Oh, Tia, you're funny. So I took another day to work from home because the snow that we got yesterday, we got so much snow yesterday, but today it is ice instead of snow. Looks like a water butterfly. Oh, God, I didn't realize you could see the back of my iPad. Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know if you can see up here. Let me just switch the camera around here so you guys can see what's going on up here. We got a little kitty in the basket behind me. That's Pearl. She's hiding. You can see her little eyes. And back here in this basket is a little critter. Can you see him? Can you see? I don't know if you can see him. Let me see. Yep, there he is. He's apparently gotten a hold of a skein of yarn and is making himself comfortable with it. That's his favorite little hiding spot back there. Since Pearl refuses to share her basket up here, yep, just trying to get it so you can see her. There you go. Now you can see her. Hi, Pearl. Hi, baby girl. Hi. Anyway, there's the kitties. And Tootsie's out in the living room with my sister because she gives out treats in the morning. So, hi, Melody. Good morning. Hi, Sherry. It's a pop-up live that we are on a 15-minute break from the sentencing of Kimberly Potter. We've heard from the family, although I didn't catch that on video. I didn't realize it started so soon because apparently they're on the East Coast time. I'm on Central Time. So by the time I turned it on, the family had finished giving their victim impact statements, and we did get to hear from the defense. There were several letters written in support of Kimberly Potter in favor of probation. He held up a box of letters. Just tons and tons of letters and cards and support. And he made the argument that sentencing her to prison here serves no purpose. She's not going to ever repeat what happened again. The chances of that are slim to none. She's not going to ever be a police officer again. So what is the purpose of sending her to prison? Just makes no sense. Max is here. Hi, Max. Melody says, hi, Jen. I was thinking about you this week. We've all missed Jen. We do. We've all missed. But she, I know that COVID took a lot out of my sister. She was so sick for 3 weeks. Couldn't lift her head off the pillow for 3 weeks. And I know Jen went through the same thing. That's hard to recover from. It really is. The judge had to take a pee-pee break. Well, we all did. So I like this judge. She's very soft-spoken. She seems to be very sweet and kind, but she's a stickler for the law. So I don't know that she will depart. The recommendation, I guess, was 86 months in prison. She says when she comes back from taking her pee break, she's going to ask the defendant if she would like to make a statement. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think she was relying on the defense attorney to speak on her behalf. So I don't know that we'll hear from her. Oh, it's windy there. Yeah, not windy here, but just a lot of ice. So I texted my boss this morning. I really do not want to drive on the ice. She's like, well, the roads are okay, but if you feel more comfortable at home, then stay home. I'm like, oh, don't have to ask me twice. Stay home. So that's what I was doing here in the background, just working on some stuff from work. Yep. It's not crazy busy today, thank goodness. But what a crazy busy weekend. Oh my God, guys, I'm interviewing David McLean tomorrow night. I am so excited. I don't know if you guys knew about it, Jen, Tia, David McLean, the guy that did Notre Dame Knights, the painting that's in front of me, that's his painting. He's going to be interviewing him. So it's going to be fun. Oh, Max says they have a storm moving through. Oh no. Yarn Barf, welcome. I pray they do not give her hard jail time. It was a tragic accident. I love that name, Yarn Barf. That is so cool. Yeah, I would agree with you. I totally agree with you. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the like button. I'm not letting him watch today. He has, triggers and sensitivities. So I put him in the other room with Jean. Maybe he'll get a snack from her, but make sure you hit him. Dawn says, cannot wait for the interview. I know. He's good looking too. He's really a handsome dude. And To Russia with Love is his painting too, the one that we're going to do for the next event. So super excited to talk to him. Sherry says, it isn't lovely to work in your jammies. I love it. Yeah, these are not they are my jammies. They're my camouflage jammies. I was going to try to say they're not my jammies. This is actually a regular top. I do have a bra on. It's a regular top. It's just, yeah, the bottoms are jammies. It's a party down here. Party down here. Ooh, let's get my thing out. Hey, we could pop party music during the break. I don't use it that often. Party music. Let's go with the party music. Okay, enough of the party music. All right, we did party music. So let me check, see if she's back. I doubt it. 15 minutes usually turns into 20 in these courtrooms. Yeah, we're still showing the seal. When it comes back, I'll turn back over there. Party like it's 1999. Oh my God. You know how old was I in 1999? Oh, you don't want to know. But my son was 19 in 1999. Yep. So that tells you how old I am. Hey, Robert. Oh my God. Robert is here. Hey, Robert. How the heck are you, man? What are you working on these days, Robert? Melody's asking, how is your brother, Tia? How is Tia's brother? 29 watching. Okay, we should have 29 thumbs up. Yay. That really helps the algorithm when you give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. And Sunday, Rebecca, what did you think of the defense's attorney for the popcorn yesterday? I'm telling you that popcorn case. Well, I have you'll see my show today. I talk about the defense attorney, but he's very good. I mean, this guy's hired himself a good lawyer. And he really lit into that police officer, man. He made him look like he was about this big. Yeah. I think he's got a good argument for poor police investigation, that the whole thing wasn't really handled right. But I don't know that makes a difference. You still don't pull out a gun and shoot somebody because they flip popcorn at you. I mean, for God's sakes. I'm glad I don't go to the movies. First of all, it's too expensive. And that popcorn that he threw was probably worth $6-7 at least or more. That's expensive. I have been great, Robert. I've been working from home all week because of the weather. Yep. And I don't like driving in this weather. So I trying to finish up this painting. What you see underneath the iPad, this is what I have left. Like, I have a small diamond painting left. I'm considering just taking scissors and cutting it here and calling it a day. But no, I'll finish it because this part is really pretty over here. It's got trees and yeah, I'll finish it. It just ain't gonna be by Sunday. Hey, good morning, Vivian. How are you? Nice to have you. We're waiting for the defense for the court to come back into session. They took a 15-minute break. There they are. Nothing going on. It's the seal. They're just showing the seal. Love your canvas, living through you right now. Oh, thank you, Jen. I have to tell you, though, I'm not bored with this. I love working on this canvas. I just have really enjoyed it. It's big, but I have really, really enjoyed it. And I got to tell you, tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be on that phone. I want that black lab with the landscape inside. I want that something fierce. I want to do that one for you guys because it is stunning. It's stunning. Oh, let's see. I hear the courtroom. Okay, let me share the screen. We're going to go back into court, guys. I'll go back to typing in the chat. There we go.
Okay, Ms. Potter, would you like to address the court? Please go to the podium and you may remove your mask.
Oh, she is going to address the court. This will be interesting. Somebody get her a box of tissues.
Okay, Ms. Potter. Okay, my court camera can't hear you. So
They need to get her a microphone. She's trying to address the family, but the microphone is behind her.
The family of Dante, right? I am so sorry that I brought the death of your son, father, brother, uncle, grandson, nephew, and the rest of your family to your home. Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you. Earlier, when you said that I didn't look at you during the trial, I don't believe I had a right to. I didn't even have a right to be in the same room with you. I am so sorry that I hurt you so badly. My heart is broken and devastated for all of you. I pray for Dante and all of you many times a day. He is not more than one thought away from my heart, and I have no right for that, for him to be in my heart. I do pray that one day you can find forgiveness, only because hatred is so destructive to all of us. And then I pray peace will always be with you and your family. Again, I'm so sorry. To the community of Brooklyn Center, I do owe you an apology too. I loved working for you. And I'm sorry what has happened to our community since the death of Dante. And the men and women who work for you still are good, honorable people, and will work hard for you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Pine.
Well, that's sad. Oh my God.
This is one of the saddest cases I've had on my 20 years on the bench. On the one hand, a young man was killed, and on the other, a respected 26-year veteran police officer made a tragic error by pulling her handgun instead of her taser. Thank you to everyone who spoke. I have been profoundly moved by the comments of the Wright family. Dante was very loved. His son has lost a father. And Mr. and Mrs. Wright, I cannot begin to understand the grief of losing a child. I'm so sorry for your loss. Kimberly Potter honorably served her community for 26 years as a police officer. She was a respected officer and consistently went over and above the call of duty. She's a wife, a mother, an aunt, a granddaughter, a colleague, and a friend to many. In addition to the letters that were forwarded to me by Mr. Ng, I received hundreds and hundreds of letters in her support from colleagues, family, friends, acquaintances, community leaders and members, and even strangers.
Wow.
I read them all. They paint a portrait of a woman who touched a lot of people in a good way. I want to talk briefly about the aggravating factors that were brought up in this case. As I mentioned before, the state initially took the position Ms. Potter should receive a sentence above the guidelines and filed a brief in support of two aggravating factors under Blakely. All parties agreed that I would determine whether aggravating factors existed to justify a harsher sentence than that set forth in the guidelines. I feel compelled to address the grounds for that request because they were made public, and I think it is important to note they were not proven in this case. The state did not meet its burden of proof on the first factor. It is based on defendant causing a greater than normal danger to the passenger in the car and two other officers when she fired. But the shot only hit Dante Wright. The passenger and the officers were not injured by that shot. The cases cited by the state in its brief did not support its position. In fact, they illustrate why this case does not involve a greater than normal danger to others. In the Fleming case,
Good for her.
he fired a gun 6 times in a park filled with children. In State versus Omaha, defendant fired numerous shots into 2 apartment buildings. There is no comparison here. The state also did not meet its burden of proof on the second Blakely factor. Contrary to the state's claims, Kimberly Potter did not abuse her position of authority. In fact, it is undisputed Ms. Potter or Officer Potter was in the line of duty and doing her job in attempting to lawfully arrest Dante Wright on the warrant when she mistook her gun for her taser. What's more, she drew her taser legitimately to protect a fellow officer on the other side of the vehicle who could have been dragged and seriously injured if the car were to speed away. Officer Potter's conduct clearly was not significantly more serious than that typically involved in commission of the crime in question, justifying an upward departure. Turning to defendant's request for a dispositional departure, there is no question that Ms. Potter is extremely remorseful. She showed that today. She showed that when it happened. It is also beyond dispute that she is particularly amenable to probation. But the court retains the discretion to make departure decisions independently. The court is not required to depart even where mitigating factors are present, and that's set forth in State versus Birch, 689 Northwest 2nd, 276, affirmed by the Supreme Court, 707 Northwest 2nd, 660. This has been an extremely difficult decision. In making my decision, I look to the purposes of incarceration. There are 4: retribution, incapacitation, deterrence, and rehabilitation. 3 of the 4 would not be served in this case.
I agree.
Incapacitation refers to the physical removal of a convicted person to prevent them from committing future crimes. That is not an issue in this case. Kimberly Potter does not present a danger of future crimes, obviously.
Clearly.
Deterrence refers to the prevention of future crime and the idea that those who have committed crimes will be discouraged from reoffending after experiencing punishment. That purpose would not be served here. Rehabilitation is also not a purpose that would justify incarceration in this case. Ms. Potter does not require rehabilitation to become
That leaves
a law-abiding
retribution.
citizen. Retribution, or serving time as a way for a convicted person to pay for the harm inflicted on a victim, is the sole purpose that applies in this case. And in this case, a young man was killed because Officer Potter was reckless. There rightfully should be some accountability. Sentencing guidelines are just that. They are guidelines that inform a judge regarding sentencing for various crimes. They are not set in stone. The court has the discretion to depart from guidelines depending on the particular facts of a case. A downward durational departure is justified if a crime is less onerous than typical. Put another way, if the conduct is significantly less serious than that typically involved in the commission of the crime, sentencing below the guidelines is justified. I find the facts and circumstances here justify a downward departure from the guidelines. First, Officer Potter's conduct was significantly less serious than your typical manslaughter case. The misdemeanor predicate for the manslaughter count was reckless handling or use of a firearm. Here, everybody agrees, and the evidence is undisputed, that Officer Potter never intended to use her firearm. She mistakenly drew her firearm at all times, intending to use her taser. There were police officers and experts who testified that the use of her taser was reasonable and appropriate under the circumstances presented for officer safety reasons. The fact she never intended to draw her firearm makes this case less serious than other cases. Second, the scene was chaotic, tense, and rapidly evolving. Officer Potter was required to make a split-second judgment. That constitutes a mitigating circumstance. Finally, unlike other manslaughter 1 cases, Officer Potter's actions were not driven by personal animosity toward Dante Wright. Instead, she was acting in the line of duty and effectuating a lawful arrest. This case is highly unusual. The other officer cases tried in this court are distinguishable. This is not a cop found guilty of murder for using his knee to pin down a person for 9.5 minutes as he gasped
she went there.
air. This is not a cop found guilty of manslaughter for intentionally drawing his firearm and shooting across his partner and killing an unarmed woman who approached his squad. This is a cop who made a tragic mistake. She drew her firearm thinking it was a taser and ended up killing a young man. Ms. Potter, will you please rise? Given all these considerations and having carefully considered the comments of the family and of both Dante Wright and the comments of Kimberly Potter, as well as the arguments of counsel, it is the sentence and judgment of this court that you shall be committed to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 24 months. You shall serve 2/3 of that time, or 16 months in prison, and 1/3 on supervised release, assuming no disciplinary offenses or conditional release violations. You have credit for 58 days already served. Restitution will be reserved. There'll be a fine of $1,000 and a surcharge of $78 to be taken out of prison wages or due within 180 days. You must provide a DNA sample. You may not use or possess any firearms, ammunition, or explosives. You have the right to appeal the conviction and sentence. If you are unable to pay the cost of an appeal, you may apply for leave to appeal at state expense by contacting the state public defender. You may be seated, Ms. Potter. I'd like to make a few parting comments. I recognize there will be those who disagree with the sentence. That I granted a significant downward departure does not in any way diminish Dante Wright's life. His life mattered. And to those who disagree and feel a longer prison sentence is appropriate, as difficult as it may be, please try to empathize with Ms. Potter's situation. As President Barack Obama once said, learning to stand in somebody else's shoes, to see through their eyes, that's how peace begins. And it's up to you to make that happen. Empathy is a quality of character that can change the world. Officer Kimberly Potter was trying to do the right thing. Of all the jobs in public service, police officers have the most difficult one. They must make snap decisions under tense, evolving, and ever-changing circumstances. They risk their lives every single day in public service. Officer Potter made a mistake that ended tragically. She never intended to hurt anyone. Her conduct cries out for a sentence significantly below the guidelines. Okay, thank you.
Wow. I'm blown away by her generosity. She's so kind. I mean, you couldn't ask for a nicer judge. Yeah. She made me cry. So, according to my calculations, she only was sentenced to 16 months in prison. 8 months of the 24 that she was sentenced to will be on probation, supervised probation. She already has 58 days in jail that she spent, and so she'll be serving 14 months, so just over a year. Now, right now they have her in isolation. I hope that it's not 14 months of isolation, because that would kill anybody. But I think she was so fair, really, really fair. And I think I say we put this judge on the phone with Putin, right? And solve the Russian conflict in the Ukraine. because she really set out her rationale very well. Yeah, I really liked her. Sometimes the justice system works. Now the Wright family's not going to be happy, but nobody wins in this situation. You know, they don't get their son back, and Kimberly Potter will serve time as retribution for her crime. So, anyway, yeah, the judge sounded like, you know, she really spoke from the heart, and that meant a lot, that she spoke from her heart. Yeah, she's not in general population now. They've had her isolated for the 58 days that she's been in jail. She's been isolated because of her position as a police officer. You know, it's kind of tenuous. You don't want to put them in the general population. So I guess for the next year, I don't know what they'll do with her. Yeah. Will the judge be on the news? I feel like she did the best. This will make the news, and I'm specifically glad that she distinguished this from what happened to George Floyd, because what that cop did, he did with malice, and I don't believe for 1 second that he did it accidentally or you know, I'm glad she distinguished it, because it's a whole different story. You know, you just had an arrogant cop. Here you had a cop that made an innocent mistake. Two completely different situations, and I'm glad she mentioned that. So she does have a big heart. We all have big hearts. So guys, thank you. Thank you for tuning in with this morning. I do have a show. I have to edit it and get it out there for you today. Can we replace the Florida judge with this one? Oh my gosh. One of the judges said this morning, he brought the jury in and he said, do you all have the right pants on? And I said, why is he asking the jury if they have the right pants on? He didn't say pants, he said pads. They have their yellow pads, and he was asking them if they had their correct pads. And I thought he said pants. I thought he was trying to make a joke, but yeah. Anyway, so that was pretty funny. But remember that judge from last week? Oh my God, that real grumpy judge. Oh yeah, that totally different situation. But yeah, Sue said we just witnessed a fair ruling. Yep. So this is one case where I think it totally did turn out the way it should. I really do. So, anybody have any questions before I go? Get the tissue. I know I need a tissue because, I mean, it's such a rarity that you see the justice system work the way it should. It's just such a rarity. So, guys, on your way out today, don't forget to hit the like button. This is why I wouldn't let him watch. He'd probably be sitting here sobbing alongside of me. Consider becoming a member of the channel if you're already a subscriber. I would really appreciate it. Melissa, can we send the lawyers with him, please? Oh God, those lawyers in the Florida case are crazy. Oh my God, the sidebars. If they have another sidebar, I'm going to hang myself. Oh my God, so many sidebars. All right, guys, I will see you later this morning. I'm all over the place this week, and don't forget tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be doing the interview with David McLean, the guy that did this painting, Notre Dame Nights. So please tune in for that. And I'll be live on Sunday as well. So see y'all later. Thanks for watching with me. I appreciate you keeping me company. Thanks, everybody. Bye.